Speaking of Bud, I know he retired, but if he did come out of retirement, who you got in a rematch, him or Canelo?
I think I think Bud would knock him out.
What if I told you the greatest win in modern boxing history felt almost like a quiet rehearsal? We all watched Terence Crawford rewrite history in September, slowly breaking down Canelo Alvarez in a moment that locked in his place as the #1 fighter alive. The world witnessed something special. We watched a surgical unraveling of a Mexican icon. But according to the one man who understands Crawford deeper than nearly anyone else, we never saw the full picture. In truth, we may have watched Crawford fighting while still holding something back.
Canelo go from here, Henry.
He needs to rematch. If I'm Canelo, I want to rematch Terence Crawford. He got schooled, bro. He got outboxed dude by Terence Crawford. And I know that he's itching to get that one back. The first time he fought Triple G, he came back the second time, and he legit beat Triple G.
Once in a lifetime fight. It doesn't need to be a rematch. I think Bud would do worse the next fight. He would put it on Canelo a little worse than that, because that style of fight, I don't think he beats someone like Terence Crawford. But if I'm Terence Crawford, of course I'll fight him again. But this time, I'm the A side. I think Terence Crawford is going to be more confident next time, knowing that I can punch with this guy. I can take his shot. I'm faster.
He fought Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
He didn't do what the last dude did, just run. He threw at him. I'm going to call your bluff, bro.
Shakur Stevenson has now stepped forward with a revelation that completely shifts how we remember that historic night. While the rest of us were busy celebrating the decision victory, Shakur says Crawford wasn't just winning, he was holding back. There's a chilling idea moving through the boxing world right now that Terence Crawford walked into the ring with the face of boxing, handled him with ease, and consciously chose not to end it. And if Canelo Alvarez is reckless enough to sign a contract for a rematch, that kindness will not exist the second time around.
The 85+ chance to beat Canelo. Why? He's not going in there to prove something, which will fall into Canelo's hand. He would love for him to prove something. That means you will stay there and try to prove something. But to go in there and to let him know, establish that from the first round, that I belong without showing that I am tough. I earned my position to be here. And I want to show you, even though you're being stubborn, that your time not only have came, but it's gone. He ain't going to surrender and say I slowed up, so I'm going to act like it. No, he has to be shown. And it has to be early.
Let's slow down and really look at what was said, because the context here feels unsettling. In a recent sit-down, Shakur Stevenson pulled back the curtain on what was actually running through Crawford's mind across those 12 rounds. Most fans thought they were watching a tight, high-level chess match. But Shakur, seeing it through a trained lens, noticed something completely different. He says there were clear moments where Crawford had Canelo hurt, or at least exposed, and deliberately chose to step away. Shakur explained it as Crawford having an extra gear that he simply chose not to touch. It wasn't that he couldn't finish Canelo, it was that he didn't have to. Think about the confidence required to stand in front of a puncher like Canelo Alvarez, see the opening to end everything, and decide, no, let's stay disciplined. Shakur compares Crawford to a seasoned bank robber. Go in, grab the money, and walk out untouched. The knockout was right there on the table, but Crawford picked the safest route instead. And that leaves one haunting question hanging in the air. If the best version of Canelo Alvarez couldn't push Crawford out of second gear, does anyone really have a chance?
I know he retired, but if he did come out of retirement, who you got in a rematch, him or Canelo?
I think Bud would knock him out the next time. Yeah, I think Canelo is one of the hardest dudes to knock out, but I think it was points in that fight where you could tell Bud wanted to step it up and push on the gas a little bit more. But he's like, shit, the name of the game is win. So he did the veteran thing to do. But you could tell deeper inside of the way Bud thinking, his mentality, that he knew he had another gear that he could have took it to. And that was the ultimate highest level already. So it's he can even go past that is what he kind of knew. So I think the next time he probably would be like, that, let's take it to that next gear and try to get Canelo out of there.
Yeah, that would be crazy if he knocked Canelo out.
To really understand why Crawford never went in for the kill, you have to feel the energy inside that corner. Shakur wasn't some distant spectator that night. Emotionally, he was right there in the ring with him. He admitted that in the middle rounds, when the momentum began swinging hard in Bud's direction, He was shouting at the top of his lungs from ringside. And his message wasn't finish him. It was the complete opposite. He was yelling, "Keep boxing. This is easy work."
Yeah, I thought he was a stronger fighter when I seen him fight. Yeah, I was screaming the whole time like, "Shit, keep boxing, champ, keep boxing. That we ain't got to take no risks. We winning this easy. This easy work." But you know, he kept doing what he was doing. That was a veteran move.
This gives us a rare window into the mindset of that entire camp. While fans were craving blood and promoters were dreaming of a highlight reel ending, Shakur and the team were locked in on protecting the zero in the loss column. Shakur remembers thinking they were winning so comfortably that taking chances would have been stupid. Why exchange punches with a man famous for a granite chin when you can simply outthink and outclass him for 45 minutes? It reinforces the idea that what we watched wasn't a fight for survival. It was a calm, controlled execution. Crawford wasn't fighting for applause that night. He was fighting to win. And yet, that safety-first mentality is exactly why Shakur believes a rematch wouldn't look the same at all, but instead turn into a far more violent film.
Canelo brings him to that Rushmore status.
Well, yeah, because of who Canelo is and what he's accomplished and the weight disparity. Yeah, I can see that. You know, that put him over the edge. But, you know what I mean? Because, like I say, you do need us. It is the victories that you have that propel the people in the people's mind, not just your skill set. You know, it's the skill set you apply with the other great fighters. And I think he did that, and it was a dominant victory as well. So I can see that. That solidified it.
Bitch got the leftover of the best. Like, you know what I mean? It was Spence. There was a couple more walks away.
I was Spencer leftover.
The leftover.
How was Spencer leftover?
One of them, bro. I don't care about nope.
Okay, but listen to this. When I hear him say that, tell me how was Spencer leftover? Spencer was undefeated.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. He broke Ugas's face. He beat Danny, who was still a formidable champ. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. How was
Spencer?
Opponent.
How was Spencer a leftover?
Yeah, nah, I don't agree. Definitely not a leftover.
Nah, not at all.
So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and then another thing at the same time, he couldn't get them fights. Them guys, that it's on personal record. It's on record if you want to research it. It's on record that each one of those guys, they treated Bud so bad. They were so weak, and boxing and sport is supposed to be different. They were so trash that they had, on one of them PBC shows, they had all these banners up of the top welterweights and did not have Bud Crawford on the banner. They had Mikey Garcia on the banner and hadn't even fought at welterweight. Hadn't beat not a single welterweight. They had him as a top welterweight based on his accomplishments at 26 and 30 and 140. He never even beat a top welterweight. But Bud was a world champion at welterweight, a reigning world champion. And they had a list of banners of champions, of banners of the best welterweights, and he wasn't up there.
This obsession with high IQ, low-risk boxing didn't appear out of thin air. To truly understand Shakur's view of Crawford, you have to look at the man they both proudly call Big Brother, Andre Ward. In that same conversation, Shakur slowly pulled back the curtain on his own evolution, revealing that his boxing mind was shaped in the quiet hours before sunrise, replaying old Andre Ward tapes again and again, all the way until 5 in the morning.
Yep. People don't know that, like, you know what's crazy? When I was a kid, when I first started getting to a higher level in boxing as an amateur, Andre Ward was the guy who I used to just sit up and watch all night long. I stay up till 5 a.m. just sitting there watching Andre Ward tape. So he was the guy. That was the last guy who won an Olympic gold medal. That's my guy. That's my big brother.
He calls Andre Ward the greatest inside fighter he has ever witnessed, a statement not made lightly. When you watch Crawford dismantle Canelo, you can trace the fingerprints of that mentorship. It's the way he controls distance, smothers offense, and wins rounds without taking damage. Shakur respects the so-called boring win because he sees the genius behind it. What looks like running to the casual fan is actually a masterclass in timing and distance. This connection to Ward explains why Shakur speaks with such certainty. He's not just hyping, he's a devoted student of the sport, recognizing that Crawford operates on a level Canelo could never quite reach.
Skill for skill, I ain't never been in the ring with nobody more skillful than Crawford. And at that time, I had no clue that this dude could even fight from the orthodox stance. He didn't even switch orthodox. But you can see his wrestling background also. You know what I'm saying? When he put his chin on my back and he kind of rolled around me and got out of the corner. You saw that old lay where he's stepping around me and pushing me to the side, man. Or the head control. Crawford was so advanced at an early age, 23 years old, man. And with 12 fights, professional fights, he was so damn advanced. I was like, wow. This dude gonna take over the sport. This dude is more than just a sport.
Of course, every time Shakur talks about Crawford, the internet explodes with claims of bias. They say, that's his brother. Of course he'll say Crawford could have knocked him out. And they have a point. Loyalty runs deep in boxing. But you have to consider the track record. Even before the first fight, when the odds were tight and experts were divided, Shakur was one of the rare voices insisting it wouldn't be close. He told anyone who would listen that Crawford would completely outclass Canelo.
Cook Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him.
Yeah. You don't think the weight difference is gonna be too big of an advantage?
I think y'all make that something, in certain fights,
boxing makes it something, not us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would like apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's like physically kind of big, but like height wise, he's kind of small. So I don't think so. No.
Corey, have you got a decision to stop it? Because Breadman and Boozy think that Bud actually might stop it.
Me and Boozy talked about that. That's crazy. Me and him got on the phone and talked about it, but I think that's possible. Like, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if Canelo gets to acting out of line and not understanding that Bud could crack too. So
he was right. He predicted that Canelo's size and power wouldn't matter because Crawford's reach and timing would completely neutralize it. So when Shakur comes forward months later, claiming Crawford held back, we have to pay attention. This isn't blind loyalty, it's a proven analyst sharing what he truly sees. The idea that Crawford spared Canelo a knockout might sound arrogant, but given how precise Shakur's prior predictions were, it's a possibility we can't ignore. If Crawford truly operates on a level above what we witnessed in September, the pound-for-pound debate isn't just settled, it was never really a contest. But Shakur didn't just make waves with his Crawford insights. He also found himself in the center of a very different controversy, his connection to Jake Paul. This is where it gets fascinating, because it circles back to that same theme of high IQ. For years, Shakur dismissed Jake Paul fights entirely. Yet recently, he was spotted sparring and working with the influencer-turned-boxer, sparking cries of sellout from purists. Shakur's explanation? Strictly business. He flipped the narrative, saying his time with Paul wasn't about technique, it was about studying a brilliant mind. He highlighted something most critics overlook. Jake Paul single-handedly transformed the financial landscape of women's boxing. Female fighters once earning peanuts are now pulling million-dollar paydays, all because of the disruption Paul caused. Shakur admired the strategy. He wanted to understand how a man could reshape an entire sports economy. It shows that Shakur, like Crawford, prioritizes effectiveness over perception. Whether it's executing a boring fight flawlessly or learning from a controversial YouTuber, the mission is always the same. Success, by any means necessary.
When his fight first got made, I'm not watching it. Like, I still wasn't gonna watch it because I still didn't believe, to me, like that was it wasn't that type of like event for me. I'm not into it. I love boxing. Like, I love stuff that makes sense, like boxing at the highest level. I watch that. It's certain fights nowadays where if I see the two fighters that's fighting and they not on the level or it's a fight that don't make sense, I might not watch. And I think that's how people kind of took it as like, oh, but you not gonna watch, but you'll go spar him? Yeah, it's a business at the end of the day. It's a opportunity to meet somebody with a great mind. If you watch Jake Paul, it's not just boxing. Like, I wasn't there for just boxing. I wanted to, like, the questions of the business, like how he think, like that guy is changing a whole entire female sport. Like, how did you even think of getting to do that? Like, that's crazy. Now female fighters is making $1 million. They never thought that that would even be possible until Jake Paul came in the game. So truthfully, bro, like from my side, it's like, shit, I wanna, like, what made you even get to that thought process? Like, I wanna change the entire female sport. Like, with my platform, this is how I wanna do it. And I respect him. I respect great business minds, people who think on a higher level than just this. There's a lot of people that think like this, and their brains can't reach to that top level. So I respect them.
So, where does this leave Canelo and Crawford? If the whispers are true and Canelo triggers his rematch clause, he could be stepping straight into a trap. Shakur's warning was unmistakable. In that first fight, Crawford was satisfied to win on points. He proved his dominance. He claimed the belts. But in a rematch, everything changes. The veteran's drive to simply secure the win has already been checked off. Now the goal is to make a statement. Shakur believes that if they face off again, Crawford will tap into that next gear. He won't be listening to the corner yelling, "Keep boxing." This time, he'll be aiming to close the show. The psychological edge is entirely Crawford's. He knows he can hurt Canelo. He knows he can outbox him. And if he chooses to stand his ground and trade, Shakur is certain the Mexican superstar won't see the final bell. What looked like a potential rematch for redemption now turns into a perilous gamble for legacy. Does Canelo really want to discover what happens when the nice guy stops playing nice?
Great Mexican fighters have a good history of taking L's and coming back in a big way. They do. Barrera got knocked out by Junior Jones, then he got dismantled by Manny Pacquiao, and both times people were like, oh, he might be done. And he came back and became a champion. Chavez would come back and become champion. So there's good pedigree for a great Mexican fighter like Canelo to take that loss and come back and win, which I think he's capable of. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I might favor Hamza Shiraz to beat him right now, though. Shiraz is big at 6'3". He's fast. He punches hard.
A lot right there in front of him.
And he's hungry and he's humble.
Yeah.
And I think Turkey wants to see him become a champion in the Middle East and kind of build around him in those events. I think that's a great fight. I might favor Shiraz right now. Canelo's made a lot of money. He doesn't really fight at a high pace these days. So I don't count the great Canelo Alvarez out. But some of those Mexican fighters I mentioned, they didn't make as much money. They weren't on as many silk sheets as Canelo was. So I think it might be Shiraz's division.
And you got to imagine that Canelo's almost done. So for Canelo to go out with a win over Shiraz on that kind of platform, that kind of moment, that kind of money that really would stamp his career, you know. And I feel like his career is already stamped.
It is.
What more do you really need to do? But that really would put that stamp. You know, you drop this one with Terence. That's the comeback right there. That's the story that trumps losing to Terence Crawford. You know what I mean? So I think that would be a beautiful way for him to go out. Obviously, should that fight happen, and should he have, you know, the upper hand in that fight, you count him out, and you think that Shiraz might possibly win that fight. But I think that Canelo still got enough gas in the tank.
We often talk about fighters leaving everything in the ring, but it's rare to hear about someone who wins the biggest fight of his life while holding back. Shakur Stevenson has painted a picture of Terence Crawford far more terrifying than what we saw on Fight Night, a version of the champion who chose mercy over destruction. As the boxing world waits to see if Canelo will trigger the rematch, he faces a daunting question. Is it worth stepping back into the ring with a man who treated their first encounter like a rehearsal? Because if Shakur is right, next time the bell rings, Crawford won't be looking to outpoint him. He'll be looking to turn the lights out. And in the ruthless world of boxing, there is no opponent more dangerous than a master who has decided the games are over.
The first 3 rounds, you were trying to just figure them out. Was that the game plan and start turning it up maybe in round 4?
Well, the first 3 rounds, you know, I felt like I was in control. You know, I think he was trying to figure me out.
Did you feel that you were frustrating him? He tried to lift you up. He headbutted you. Were you sensing that you were frustrating him?
Of course. You know, he was a little frustrated in there, but that's part of the game.
And last question is, I know it's right after the fight. Have you feel yet the significance of this win and what it means in your legacy and your career?
To be honest, when I set my sights on doing something and I know what I'm capable of, it's not like a surprise to me. It's a surprise to y'all because y'all didn't believe me, you know? But for me, I knew I could do it, and I believed that I could do it. I just needed the opportunity.
Terence, when did you know that you were going to beat him? Over here on your left.
When he signed the contract.
That's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, hit subscribe, and tap that bell so you never miss what's coming next. And drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.